Emotional regulation isn't about controlling your feelings. It's about learning to stay present with what's happening inside you without abandoning yourself in the process. Because the truth is, most people don't regulate emotions. They suppress them, they intellectualize them, then bypass them with productivity, or they bury them inside positive thinking, and then wonder why they feel numb, stuck, or like they're always on the edge of burnout. You don't need to be better at emotions. You just need a better relationship with them. Because emotions are not problems to solve. They're messengers. And the longer that you treat them like enemies, the louder they'll scream just to get your attention. What if your anxiety isn't brokenness? What if your anger isn't dysfunction? What if your sadness isn't a distraction, but a doorway? Every emotion that you avoid is a part of you that's waiting to be heard, not fixed, not managed, just heard. And that's not weakness, that's emotional maturity, that's internal leadership. Here's why suppression fails. Suppressing an emotion doesn't make it disappear. It makes it go underground, and what you bury, you still carry. You might not feel it in your chest anymore, but you'll feel it in your tension, your irritation, your self-sabotage, your overreaction to things that don't make sense. Unprocessed emotion doesn't stay quiet. It leaks. The goal isn't to avoid your emotions, it's to stop making them the enemy, because most of what you call overreaction is actually a normal response that never got a safe place to land. Because when your body holds what your words never got to express, it turns into tension, into shutdown, into quiet panic that doesn't know where to go. You think that you're over it, but your nervous system never got the memo. You think you've moved on, but the part of you that needed to cry it out still lives somewhere beneath your smile. Suppression keeps you functioning, but at the cost of not feeling like yourself. And over time, that's a cost that your system can't afford. I want to share with you a framework with 3 very important key shifts that are going to change everything for you. Shift number 1, witness before you fix. The moment that an intense emotion shows up, most people ask, how do I fix this? But that question implies that the emotion is wrong, that it shouldn't be here, that your job is to get rid of it. But the truth is, most emotions don't need to be fixed. They need to be witnessed. Just like a child having a meltdown, what helps them isn't logic, it's presence. And the same goes for you. You don't need to solve the sadness. You need to stay with it long enough for it to stop asking for your attention. Because emotion that isn't witnessed turns into behavior that doesn't make sense. You snap at your partner, you ghost your goals, or binge something just to feel in control. But what you really needed was just 90 seconds of presence. Presence that says, this feeling is allowed, it makes sense, and I'm okay and safe to feel it. Most people never hear that, so they learn to escape instead of feel. But now, you get to break the pattern. Shift number 2, language before logic. We try to think our way out of emotion, but emotion speaks in sensation, not logic. So when you feel overwhelmed, don't start with, why am I feeling this way? Instead, start with, what does this feel like in my body? Where do I notice it most? If it had a shape, texture, or temperature, what would it be? The more language that you give it, the less control it has over you, because naming creates space, and space creates choice. That's how you stop spiraling, by anchoring the emotion in sensation, not story. Because the story is what spins. It's the loop, the why, the when, the who's at fault. But your body, it doesn't need a storyline, it needs awareness. Is the feeling sharp or heavy? Does it move or does it stay? Does it want to speak or just be held? Emotions processed in the body don't linger in the mind. This is how you come back to yourself, not through analysis, but through attention, not to the thoughts, but to the felt. Shift number 3, ownership before outlet. We often wait until emotions explode before we tend to them. We wait until we yell, until we shut down, spiral, or escape. But emotional regulation starts before the breakdown. It starts with saying, this is mine to feel, not to suppress, not to perform, not to project. And that ownership, it doesn't make the emotion go away. It just returns your power to respond instead of react. Because reactivity is the body's way of saying, I've held this for too long. It's not your fault. It's your system doing what it was trained to do. Protect, perform, and survive. But you're not in survival anymore, and you get to let your nervous system catch up to that truth. Ownership isn't about blame. It's about integration. It's saying, I can feel this and still lead. I can be soft and still strong. I can be human and still whole. This is emotional regulation, holding the full weight of your feeling without outsourcing your power to it. It says, I can feel this and still move through it without turning it into a story about my worth. So if you feel like your emotions run your life, if you're tired of being hijacked by fear, sadness, or frustration, you don't need to become more logical. You need to become more present. Witness before you fix. Language before logic. Ownership before outlet. That's how you become safe to yourself again. Not because you never feel deeply, but because you finally trust yourself to hold what shows up. This is what real regulation is. A return to breath, to body, to self. Because regulation isn't a productivity hack. It's a way back home, back to the part of you that doesn't need to fight emotion to feel safe. Back to the version of you that trusts their sensitivity instead of hiding it. Back to the present, where you don't have to be perfect, just present. The more safe that you become to yourself, the less your emotions have to fight for your attention. And from that place, clarity is no longer a concept. It becomes your natural baseline. This is how you lead. This is how you heal. This is how you come back.